the FIA was never supposed to reveal this. But just days before the Australian Grand Prix, internal documentation exposed what Red Bull is bringing to Melbourne, and it changes everything. We are talking about up to half a second per lap. At the first race of a brand new era. Over 2,000 laps completed in testing. 0 major failures. 15 kilometers per hour faster on the straight without traditional drag reduction. 12 degrees cooler engine temperatures than rivals. And here is the part that should worry everyone. Verstappen was running conservative engine modes, and still went purple in the most technical sector. Meaning they were hiding pace. This is not a small upgrade. This is a performance statement. A blown diffuser evolution. A completely redesigned front wing. A Ford power unit that shows no clipping on long straights. And a race pace advantage already measured at 0.4 per lap in long runs. We are days away from lights out in Australia. And if these leaked upgrades perform as expected, the championship might start with Red Bull already ahead. Subscribe now, because what happens in Melbourne could define the entire 2026 season. Red Bull did not go to Bahrain to impress anyone. They went there to collect proof. While most teams focused on single lap pace, chasing headlines and social media clips, the RB22 followed a completely different script. Long runs, heavy fuel, conservative engine maps, and relentless mileage. Over 2,000 laps completed across testing. That is not normal. That is a statement. 0 major mechanical failures. Only a minor hydraulic issue on day 1, resolved without hardware changes. From that moment on, the car ran almost endlessly. And here is why that matters. 2026 regulations are brutally complex. New hybrid systems. New energy harvesting ratios. More electric deployment dependence than ever before. Reliability is no longer a bonus. It is the foundation. Now listen carefully to this part. GPS data from long-run simulations showed Red Bull running approximately 0.4 per lap faster than Ferrari over extended stints. 0.4. Not in qualifying trim. In race pace configuration. And Verstappen was not using the most aggressive power modes. In Sector 2, the most technical portion of the Bahrain layout, he recorded purple mini-sectors while running a conservative mapping labeled Map 4 internally. That means margin. Hidden performance. But the real difference was tire degradation. During a 57-lap simulation, the RB22 showed roughly 0.1 seconds per lap drop-off. 0.1. That is extraordinary. Because in this new generation, heavier hybrid systems stress the rear tires more aggressively. If you can maintain degradation that low, strategy opens up. One stop becomes viable. Undercuts become lethal. Late race attacks become realistic. Now connect that to Melbourne. Albert Park punishes rear tires with repeated traction zones. If Red Bull can protect the rear axle better than their rivals, they control Sunday. And that brings us to the Ford power unit. This partnership was questioned. Doubted. Many expected early struggles. Instead, early data shows something shocking. Cooling temperatures approximately 12 degrees Celsius lower than rival engines. 12. That changes everything. Lower operating temperature means sustained deployment. No clipping at the end of long straights. Stable hybrid regeneration cycles. And more importantly, freedom. Freedom to push late in stints when others must lift and coast. In Bahrain, the RB22 reached speeds around 344 km per hour without even relying heavily on drag reduction assistance. That is raw efficiency. Not trickery. Efficiency. And in 2026, efficiency beats aggression. But this is not just about the car. It is about adaptation. Max Verstappen has subtly changed his approach. Less violent steering inputs. More progressive throttle application. Smoother brake release to maximize regeneration without destabilizing the rear. He described the balance as improving, but tires as sensitive. That comment sounds cautious. It is not. It means he understands exactly where the edge is. And Verstappen, when he understands the edge, rarely misses it. Now remember something critical. Australia is the first race of the new era. No team truly knows where they stand under full race pressure. But Red Bull have validated correlation between CFD and track data at nearly 100%. When simulation matches reality, development accelerates dramatically. And they are not standing still. Because what is arriving in Melbourne is not a test specification. It is Spec 1.1. An evolution. An aggressive refinement built specifically for race pace dominance. And we have not even broken down the aerodynamic changes yet. Because what Red Bull are doing with airflow around the side pods and diffuser might be the detail that nobody is prepared for. Now let's break down the part that has engineers quietly nervous. The side pods. Red Bull are calling it an evolution. It is not. It is a structural airflow redirection. The so-called blown diffuser version 2 design takes the undercut philosophy to an extreme level. The inlet is reshaped. The channel beneath the side pod is deeper. And the exit airflow is directed aggressively toward the upper surface of the diffuser ramp. Why does that matter? Because in 2026, rear stability defines race pace. The more efficiently you energize the diffuser, the more downforce you create without adding drag. And that is exactly what Red Bull appear to have achieved. Internal analysis suggests around 15% more effective rear load in medium speed corners. That translates to roughly 0.2 per lap in sectors like Melbourne's technical middle section. But here is the hidden benefit. When hot air from the Ford power unit exits through those cannon-style outlets, it accelerates airflow into the diffuser channel. That creates a subtle blown effect. Not illegal. Not active aero. Just smart thermal management. Heat becomes performance. And that synergy between cooling and downforce is extremely difficult to replicate mid-season. Because it requires packaging decisions made months ago. Now add the revised front wing. Max complained about slow corner understeer in Bahrain. Red Bull responded immediately. New main plane curvature. More aggressive outboard flap geometry. A reshaped footplate vane to improve airflow around the front tire wake. Estimated gain? Around 1.5 tenths in slow corners. That directly targets Melbourne's opening sector. Heavy braking into turn 1. Quick rotation into turn 3. If the front end bites more aggressively, Verstappen can attack. But here is what makes this combination dangerous. Front stability plus rear traction equals balance. And balance equals tire preservation. When a car slides less, it overheats less. When it overheats less, degradation drops. And when degradation drops to around 0.1 seconds per lap, race control becomes almost effortless. Then come the small details that most fans ignore. Airbox winglets. Mirror mount refinements. These are not cosmetic. They clean turbulent wake before it reaches the rear wing. They improve crosswind stability by roughly 5%. That is crucial in Melbourne, where gusts can destabilize high-speed entries. If the RB22 maintains aerodynamic platform consistency under lateral wind shifts, it becomes predictable. And predictability gives drivers confidence. Confidence allows aggression. Now let's talk about the diffuser extension tied to the rear crash structure. The expansion volume at the very back increases airflow extraction. That improves traction out of the final corner, which leads onto the main straight, which means more speed before the braking zone. And when paired with the Ford engine's refined Stage 2 mapping, optimized for low gear torque delivery, launch performance improves. That matters in race starts. And especially in safety car restarts. Picture this. Late race in Australia. Field compressed. 5 laps to go. Verstappen exits the final corner with improved traction. Full deployment available. No clipping. 15 km/h advantage builds before turn 1. That is decisive. But here is the most important piece of all. Red Bull are not chasing pole position. They are engineering Sunday dominance. Christian Horner made it clear that race pace is the priority. And the numbers support that strategy. 4 to 6/10 estimated gain from the Melbourne package. Not all of it visible in qualifying. Most of it revealed over long runs. And that is what wins championships. We are days away from the first race of a completely new regulation era. The RB22 has shown brutal reliability. Thermal efficiency beyond expectations. Aerodynamic synergy that turns heat into downforce. And a driver who has already adapted his style to maximize hybrid deployment without destroying tires. If this package performs as projected in Melbourne, the first race might not just be a battle. It might be a warning. Because when Red Bull combine efficiency, balance, and Verstappen's precision, they do not just compete. They control. And the only question left is whether anyone realizes how serious this threat truly is before the lights go out in Australia.